Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dustin. Welcome back to the show. This is another edition of Bushwhacking History in Buffalo. Today we are going to be at the City Hall. Thought it'd be fitting since the last time we did a reading from the Shadows of the Western Door for Niagara Square. And one of the coolest buildings in Buffalo, I think, is City Hall. And that's right within Niagara Square. So we're going to underline the importance of radials. We're going to show some construction photos. We're going to show the relevance of this article, an older bushwhacking number 18 of the Basilica, and how that I think is relevant, as well as a recent share in my community tab from OG Praveen, Adlead Scalnan, Coral Castle, and if the playlist I have or the slideshow ends before my reading ends before I'll read the sort of ghostly tale of what happened, fitting for October. I'm also going to read a history of City Hall from Buffalo as an architectural museum, website that I've used a lot of times before. And the history is going to be read. Put that in the description for you. So, Bushwhacking History, welcome. We'll get right into it. Let's go.
They don't have sunsets over the water. We do.
Okay, so that's it. City Hall. Let's go bushwhack it. I am right about yonder. I'll show you where I am. About here. Boom. Start slideshow. And we'll read that article of the history. Get a context, uh, context of history here for you. In the centennial year of the United States, 1876, Buffalo dedicated a new city hall. Between that time and the dedication of the present city hall in 1932, the centennial year of the city of Buffalo, the population had quadrupled. The need for a new building was recognized in 1920 when a citywide referendum authorized the Buffalo Common Council to select and develop a new city center. The site chosen was Niagara Square, the most important of the several squares of the Joseph Ellicott Plan of 1804. Niagara Square is considered, you know what, let me remove my mug again for you. All right, Niagara Square is considered the center and cultural heart of Buffalo, as well as its official location. The City Hall overlooks the renowned waterways of Lake Erie and the friendly shores of Canada. Groundbreaking for City Hall was held on September 16, 1929. The building was completed November 10, 1931. The building was dedicated July 1st, 1932, to commemorate the city centennial. The 32-story high structure was built on two triangular lots on the west side of Niagara Square, spanning Court Street. The construction of City Hall in 1929 closed off Court Street from the square. This was the first interruption of Ellicott's street plan. Broken radio. The completion of the similarly styled Art Deco state and federal buildings in 1935 on the east side of Niagara Square realized the concept of a city center group of governmental buildings first suggested in 1920. The City Hall building serves as a reminder of Buffalo's past. Its decorative art illustrates significant elements in the area history. This, among other things, the following are shown. Number one, themes of Iroquois Indian Nation. Number 2, the development of the Erie Canal. Number 3, the United States relation to Canada. Number 4, pioneering and industrial spirit of Buffalo citizens, past and present. Including 2 are the statues of Buffalonians who were presidents of the United States, Millard Fillmore and Grover Cleveland. Walls are faced with tawny Idaho sandstone and gray Minnesota limestone above a base of gray granite. Architects. John J. Wade, a young architect who had experience in the design of city halls, had written an article in 1925 in the Buffalo Arts Journal called Choosing a City Hall Architect, which brought him to the attention of the Common Council. They hired him as a consultant architect for the designed City Hall. January 1927. He formed a partnership with Buffalo's architect George J. Dietel to provide these services. Wade produced in 1927 a design for a 25-story square tower supporting colonnade octagon surmounted by a hemispherical dome with colored tiles. Wade's design was rejected as too expensive and lacking in sufficient floor space. However, it was not disliked. The council hired him of Dietel, Wade, and Jones to produce the final design. The council hired the firm of Dietel, Wade, and Jones to produce the final design, which was adopted. Wade had been an apprentice of Jones, and after attending the Beaux Arts Institute in New York City, Sullivan W. Jones, formerly the New York State architect, was designer of Alfred E. Smith's State Building office in Albany, a building massed similarly to Buffalo City Hall. Dietel and Wade offices were in Delaware Court. The general contractor was John W. Cowper Company, Buffalo, established in 1915. This was the principal construction company of the city. Okay, so that was the article out of that history museum. So now let's take fitting. Here we go. I'm going to read from kind of an eerie story that happened in Niagara Square near City Hall as this progresses. So let's go. And you can pause and read along. I'm going to read from this page and then that page. So let's pull this out. It is said when a person dies, he goes to the place that influenced him the most in life. This could be a place where he spent a lot of time, or possibly could be a place where something tragic happened to him. There are many spirits that continue to return to these places after either residual energy or as an intelligent energy. In the city of Buffalo, even haunted places go far and beyond homes, museums, and landmarks. They include places where people work every day. Buffalo City Hall. 3 brothers, Israel, Nelson, and Isaac, marched down the street from the old courthouse to Niagara Square. Each of the brothers was shrouded with a white hood over his face, and they were preceded by 3 coffins, one for each of the brothers to be buried in after their execution. The brothers had been convicted of the 1824 murder of John Love, a local farmer who had apparently been murdered over a small amount of money. He disappeared in June 1824 and was found a few months later in a shallow grave at the back of his own property. As they walked down the street, more than 30,000 people gathered to watch the hanging execution of 3 brothers. A band played a slow death march while the surrounding crowd just observed, as reported in the February 4th, 2007 edition of the Buffalo News. As they reached the wooden gallows, that were built not far from where the city hall stands. Israel let out a loud, high-pitched, miserable wail. His brothers followed, and then the crowd began. The sound was traditionally made during the mourning of an Irishman. The keening can still be heard today. End story. So that's a little bit morbid right there, but that's out of that book that I have. So I like to do readings from my books that I have amassed over the time period. If it has anything to do with what I'm researching, and if it's relevant to, for example, Halloween being eerie, I'd like to bring it and present it to you guys. So I hope you like that reading. I'll try to fix the audio. The music was a little bit loud last time, but okay, so there you go. You heard that's Millard Fillmore. We got, I think, a couple hospitals named after him here in Buffalo as well. It's just a beautiful, beautiful building at Niagara Square like this. And we'll go through the rest of the slideshow. There's probably not much more. And as it goes, I want to... It's kind of fitting, actually, that Woody had a video out today. He's still nailing down the fairs. And I do want to address something with that. I hate balking on certain videos. Like, I still got to do Niagara Falls 2. I still got to do Greek Fire, which I will. And I put out the... I was going to have an interview with a gentleman who owns a plaster casting company down the street from my house. And when I say balking, I mean that I put it out and I didn't follow through with it, kind of like a fake pitch. Anyway, I still mean to get in touch with him. Hopefully, like you said, Woody, hopefully trolls didn't call the guy, because I did put his business on there and freak him out. But saying he's CIA or something, that was absolutely hilarious. So, rounding back to Woody though, I don't want to balk on that. If I can get an interview with that gentleman, I will, regarding the Pan Am and stuff, and that Woody Nichols is doing right now. And that's another thing that I want to address as we're coming into the end of this slideshow. As I've seen a couple after my last reading, and I appreciate all the love, but there is a notion out there that, like, these buildings were here when Ellicott was here, and I have to not necessarily take a stance against that, but I want to propose the idea that I think it's more foundational in the fact that I do think that these buildings could have been built, and I'm going to show you why. Now, if you were paying attention though, the construction, this one's a little bit confusing, the City Hall, because if you were paying attention, it didn't reference anything about red brick or a red brick foundation. So that's where that article comes into play right now. I'm going to read from that. I did find literature that states that they did use red brick as foundation, but in this one it said that they used that gray granite. So, and look at these things there. Those are what would be traditionally Corinthian columns, but they look like tied up fascies. Side thumbs, Martin. Crazy Martin. Martin is a legend, man, for sure. Side thumbs all around. The fascies. Everybody check out Martin Liedtke. I wanted to back up and get the sun, and this is an old church right here too. St. Francis maybe, or St. Joseph, I forget. I'll do that one. Sorry for the shaky camera too. This is my phone. People think that I have a camera. No, I just use my phone. Take it anywhere. Hopping fences, dipping through yards. I'm just kidding. Used to do that as a kid though. Boots on the ground for you. I think we might be coming up to the end here. And then we'll go back to, there's a lot more gravy, detailed gravy on the artistry in the article that I'm going to put in there in the description, the one that I read from the history. It goes through a lot more pictures in depth of inside and all that stuff. People who are interested in like art deco, and I highly recommend checking out that link. I'll be sure to leave it in there. There you go. How about that for an accident, snow accident? I got another book. I'll be reading from this one. It's going to be relevant soon. But that's Niagara Square also, and I think, yeah, they got City Hall to the right. But it looks like there's a little bit of a problem. We get some heavy snow here in Buffalo, and it's coming. So, again, this book's going to be relevant soon. All right, now, so if you were paying attention in the literature, the foundation was that gray granite, it said. So what I'm questioning is when I walk up on this thing and I see a foundation laced with what looks to be obviously facade over it, like in here. But then you got, you know, I could see that gray block. Why did it not come in? There we go. Yeah. Wanted to get that how it lips over. There's no, now, okay, I think that these buildings could have been built. And when let's pull up the construction pictures. I posted these on my community tab also a while ago. You could scroll down on my YouTube channel and see them. Matter of fact, Woody had a great comment on it. Yeah, I think that this stuff could be built. It doesn't take away, in my opinion, from the, even Pan Am. Like the Albright Knox has marble. It was real. The Buffalo History Museum is real, but everything else could have been just like Woody was saying. And I do think these guys could have had the ability to build that stuff and tear it down. Static makes a good point on that level too. Like, you don't think that these robber barons had the wherewithal and the means and the resources to do that? Definitely. Now, I can understand why other people, there's another camp out there that say these kind of do almost look like model pictures, but I can't prove that. And I just know that when people say impossible architecture because of, look at that, one person, that's probably a 200-pound block. Just like that. Wasn't it Archimedes that said, give me a lever and a fulcrum large enough, I can move the earth? He should have said realm. But okay, Woody, what I'm saying to you is people think that that's fake looking. I could see why it could be fake, but here's my angle on it. If they are faking anything, or that they're trying to hide anything, it's a very specific construction technique. Matter of fact, John talked about it this morning. John Levi, the sacred geometry. They have the ability to build these buildings. To me, it's not impossible architecture. All I would say is that if these pictures look hokey to you, check out Wood and Nichols and what he does on his past Pan Ams. And if they look, maybe they're not fake in so much as they're fake construction than they were here before. They're just trying to hide their sacred geometry. And you're getting pictures that aren't showing everything going on. That's, to me, more of a possibility. That also doesn't take away from the work that I'm doing with the foundations and the infrastructure, because, like I said, I'll just cite the work from Barry Fell in the Epigraphic Society that says that there was foundations from the seafarers 1,000 years BC over here in America. So that's my take on that. Now, you have these red brick at the bottom of City Hall, where it says in that literature that I just read that you can go back to, it doesn't cite it. That's an anomaly. I'm not saying that that's proof, though, that these buildings were here. What I will say, though, is it does bring in conjecture about what I talked about on Bushwhacking Buffalo number 18. Please go back and look at this one. And I would actually ask Woody to look up on this one, dude. Wood and Nichols. I think that in my presentation on top of the orphan thing, whatever, which is kind of weird. orphan trains. They said that from what we can gather here in Buffalo and the literature that I can grab from, that they built the basilica from the ground up. And they knocked the church next door down, which is number 6. I'm trying to find out where this map is. I can't find it. This would be Lackawanna. And number 7 building right here is in the location of the basilica. Meanwhile, they said the basilica was built from scratch, from the ground up. I think that I make a case in this video right here that they actually built around it, around a red brick structure. And all I'm saying is that it's kind of interesting when you go and see City Hall, and at the base of it, it has red bricks, where on a previous video, I think, did a good job of making a case for the fact that they built the basilica, the OLV, Our Lady of Victory Basilica in Lackawanna, just south of Buffalo, around an already existing red brick building. And they have it right there. I could find no hide or hair of it, and the actual history of the actual basilica construction states that it was built from the ground up. No hide or hair mention of a red brick building. Okay, why Ed Leeds Skelman? Because this dude built the Coral Castle, and he didn't show what he did. Highly recommend going to look at that, but keep in mind what Archimedes said in the quote that I just put out there. Let me underline that. Archimedes said, give me a lever large enough and a fulcrum I could place it upon, and I can move the earth. You see a man here who's probably 150 pounds moving a block that's probably 200 pounds. So I don't think it's impossible architecture. If the pictures look fake or vanilla sky, I'm not completely discounting fake construction pictures. What I'm saying is another aspect to put on the table to sift through, unfortunately, is the idea that it's just a specific architectural technique that they're trying to keep under wraps, just like Ed Lee Skelman did in Coral Castle. Because nobody knows how that dude did that. And he built amazing, it's probably going to be a commercial, not even that one, an amazing Coral Castle. And here we go.
We are at Coral Castle in Florida, and in this video, let's take a look at the sundial. Coral Castle is a very mysterious place because it was built single-handedly by a man called Ed around 1920. Here is the sundial that he created, and it has some very complex features, and it's also unique because it is the only...
Now that's all megalithic stuff. Now he's responsible for allegedly having done that himself, and he would work at night and he would put a barrier up so people couldn't see that, what he was doing. Now, if one person allegedly can do that, then the buildings that people think were here, or like Woody, like I said, I'll cite Woody again, the Pan Am buildings, I believe that they did have the wherewithal capacity to build that stuff. And it could have been all wooden, like a bunch of it wooden, like he says, like is said in the mainstream narrative. That doesn't take away from the idea that the radial patterns were here, though. That's what I'm getting at. The infrastructure, the radials, the stuff that I think is buried from 1,000 years ago, that probably we came back to. That was just sedimentation, overgrowth that was cleared off, looks like mud flood, terraformed, and then you make yourself for example, there goes Washington. For example, you make yourself something like this. A whole city planned out, plots already done, infrastructure laid underneath. Oh, is it mud flood? No, they just city planned it. And all the way down to selling businesses for easy payments. It's a prefab city. This is Rochester, New York. It's incorporated into Rochester, New York now. And this is what I say terraforming. Is it mud flood? Is it purposeful mud flood? I say more like terraforming, and I think that we stumbled upon these ruins, and the Holland Land Company purchased ruins for the most part from the natives. And here's a real important notion too. Graded streets. That would look like mud flood, but they're just graded. And whether or not the actual buildings were there or not, the foundations may have been there, and they plotted out around it. And I still have work to do on that as far as here in Buffalo, but keep that in mind. Radial street pattern may have been here prior to Ellicott, and Ellicott may have just been given credit for it, allegedly. So that was another edition, quick hitter of Bushwhacking History in Buffalo for you. City Hall, Niagara Square. I'm radiating out from that, trying to get back to doing more classic boots on the ground and reading and doing a slideshow for you. So stick with me. I will report back as always. Keep your heads up, your faces up, and watch your six. Take care.